Hello and welcome, it's Chris from Christopher Holt Training, and welcome to part 4 of how to overcome lower back pain, the importance of exercise. Now in parts 1 and 2 I talked about optimal loading, the tightening of muscles and the spasming of muscles and how exercise can help the healing process. In parts 3 I talked about bracing and how that protects the spine, and now we're going to kind of bring that together a little bit, and we're going to talk about the hips, and we're going to talk about how activating muscles can help relax other muscles. So if you've got tight muscles, it's not necessarily about the healing process, but it's just about how muscles interact with each other, and activating certain muscles can help relax other muscles. But before we get into that, quickly mention my social media as I do: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and YouTube. Please do come along, like, follow, subscribe. It'd be great to have you there. Pop a comment below if you've got a question about anything that I'm talking about, if you found anything interesting within it, or if you have any feedback on the video, it would be great to hear that. Now, alternatively, you can come to this link down here and you will go through to my Fundamentals of Spine Health webinar. It's completely free. I share my entire formula for overcoming lower back pain, so what I use with people on a daily basis working in the gym. If you want to put that into practice, you can then obviously take that formula and go and do it yourself, or you can come and join me as an online client. Either way, I'm absolutely happy with. You can go take the formula and run with it, or you can become an online client. Either is great for me. So please do just follow the link, it's in the description, and you'll be able to go through there and reserve your spot. So coming back to what we're talking about in part number 4, which is how the hips affect, or muscle activity affects the relaxation of certain muscles. So while back pain inhibits gluteal muscles, so in a sense switches them off of the hip, it also tends to facilitate or tighten the psoas muscle. So the psoas muscle is this muscle here that goes from the top of your leg all the way up the lumbar vertebrae and onto T12 as well. So this muscle tends to tighten through here. Now what that does when it's tightening is it increases the compressive force on the spine, and what that means is, if you can imagine you've got a sponge in your hand and then you squeeze the sponge, that's essentially what the psoas muscle is doing to the spine. It's putting a compressive force around it and essentially squashing it like your fist squashes a sponge. Now what's happening at the same time, so it's called reciprocal inhibition, that's the technical term for it, is it switches off its opposite muscle, which is the glute muscles. So you've got the glute max here, you've got glute medius here, and you've got glute minimus here. So what we need to do using exercise is activate these muscles. And a part of bracing, which is what I talked about, will help activate these muscles. So as we reverse the reciprocal inhibition, so as we start activating these muscles, we start deactivating this muscle. So again, we're using exercise to readdress that balance of muscle inhibition and muscle facilitation. So where we understand that lower back tightens muscles and tissues, particularly the psoas muscle of the hip, the gluteal muscles also switch off. This increases the compressive forces on the spine. So exercise and optimal loading, as I've talked about all the way up through this this series of videos or tutorials, optimal loading allows you to redress that balance, but only if you learn to do it correctly, because there are certain exercises that will activate these muscles. But it's not about just doing the exercise. As I talked about in part 3, it's about doing these exercises correctly. So to use the story of a lifting exercise with someone with lower back pain, not only is it a fundamental movement, so you're doing it every day, you've got to learn to perform, you've got to learn how to do it correctly or perform it correctly. Because if you're just lifting, that can cause the problem. But if you learn to lift correctly, that can help you overcome the problem. So it's not just about doing the exercise, it's about doing it correctly. It's also an exercise that can activate the gluteal group. So where we are learning the fundamental movement and learning how to do it correctly, the posture of it, we've also got to add another layer on that and learn to consciously engage the right muscles at the right time. And we can also use bracing to deactivate the psoas, because again, if the psoas is trying to protect the spine because other muscles aren't doing it, if we can brace the abdominals around the front of this lumbar spine area, again, that will add another layer to deactivate that psoas muscle. So to end and to summarize all these 4 parts of the importance of exercise for lower back pain, is I can't stress enough the importance of exercise for lower back pain. So doing exercise for lower back pain. But I can't also stress enough that not to jump into just traditional fitness exercise. So when I'm talking about exercise for lower back pain, I'm not talking about traditional fitness exercise. I'm talking about learning how to use exercise, but also learn how to use your body correctly within exercise. Now, if you would like to learn more about this, come to my webinar, because that's what I teach. It's the cornerstone of my personal training and my online training. It's about you learning how to use your body correctly, because if you learn how to use your body correctly, pain will naturally reduce. So please do come along there, get onto the webinar. If you so choose, you don't have to. It's not an obligation. If you come to the webinar, you have to become an online client, but take the formula and run with it. Go and do it yourself. That's what it's there for. That's why I'm giving it to you. You have the opportunity to do that. But if you want to become an online client, you can. That's absolutely fine as well. So many thanks for watching these past 4 tutorials. Hopefully they've been helpful. Hopefully they've given you some insight into how to overcome lower back pain and how to use exercise as a means of helping you overcome lower back pain. So many thanks for watching. My name is Chris from Chris for Whole Training. I hope to see you on the webinar.